Hi, I'm Jim Bergman, pastor of Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas, at the corner of Wirt and Westview Road. And we have worship service on Saturday night at 6 o'clock and Sunday morning at 9:30. Communion served at both. This is a sermon for Pentecost 5 in the C series, Tag Team Mercy. The lawyer, seeking to justify himself. There's a sermon right there. You look funny when you try to justify yourself. He asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" He will naturally expect Jesus to eliminate such lowly characters as ruthless Samaritans and brutal innkeepers from the neighborly candidates. So Jesus tells us a tale about a good Samaritan and a merciful innkeeper, while making lighthearted mockery of the political correctness of the time. Jerusalem is almost 4,000 feet in altitude higher than Jericho, the lowest city on planet Earth, by the way. 17 miles separate them. It is a busy but dangerous road. It was 3 a.m. I had just finished helping Johnny Young, elderly blues statesman, pack up his gear after 2 sets at the Wise Fools Pub on the near north side of Chicago. I got on the L train, exhausted. At the end of the line, 63rd Street, deep south Chicago, the conductor woke me and made me sit with him back to 55th Street, the stop I had dangerously slept through. It's likely he saved my life in contested gang territory. Why would anyone take such a dangerous road? Fastest way to get home. To get anywhere then, as well as now, sometimes you have to travel risky roads. The nice thing is, Jesus tells a story and then gives us leave to interpret it in a multitude of ways. So for me, the Samaritan is God. Totally non-aligned, perfectly non-partisan, loving, relating to all in a fractured world. Possible other political affiliations hinted at in this story are as follows. The victim, an Essene. A priest, a Levite. Of course, the Samaritan. Mean bandits representing zealot patriots. And the innkeeper, most of whom were Roman retired soldiers. 6 political groups are described, none of which felt terribly benevolent towards one another. The deep message of this story has to do with the man who's lying in the ditch. He's the Christ figure, the mystic one, the suffering servant, the king and creator of the universe, who is the most vulnerable and helpless one in it. It's a thinly disguised passion prediction. Isn't even very subtle. The man in the ditch was left to die in the midst of robbers? Check. He was stripped, beaten, and left for dead? Check. In his death throes, people looked away and left? Check. Sounds like Good Friday to me. The question of who is the neighbor, and conversely, how can one be a good neighbor, has to do with the ability to respond in an authentically human manner to authentic human need. Again, for Luke, the issue of hospitality and mercy is central. True neighborliness requires a certain giving of the self, non-alignment, non-hidden agenda, non-affiliation, non-ulterior motivation, non-fear for self. Behavior outside of the narrow strictures of self-justification. So in this story that Jesus tells so masterfully, he describes a situation on a road known to everyone as the Bloody Way. It's fair to assume that any encounters on this road were fearsome. Prudent conduct on this road meant moving as fast as possible to avoid ambush and assault, pay the necessary bribes for so-called safe passage, and hope that the bribe takers don't assault you later. Keep a low profile, and be ready to run or fight for your life. Into this no man's land, Jesus inserts a character, of a neighborly, good, hospitable Samaritan. You remember, 37 verses prior to this account, Luke is explaining how James and John are trying to talk Jesus into destroying the Samaritans for refusing hospitality to the disciples. In his parables, Jesus always points to God. The character of the hospitable Samaritan saves the victim of ruthless culture. The character of the merciful innkeeper, at the behest of the Samaritan, provides all of the work of extended care for the victim. A Samaritan traveling back and forth in Judean territory was usually a trader, a despised occupation. Maybe even an arms dealer selling to both sides. This one had wealth, wine, and oil. He could interact successfully with anyone on the road. He frequented inns which were by reputation dirty and dangerous, run by people whose status was even lower than traders. No one with family connections in the area would even consider staying at an inn. An inn was unclean, run by the unclean, to serve the unclean. Most of those who listen to Jesus tell this story to be sympathetic to the bandits. They were called social bandits. They were the everyday heroes of the downtrodden peasants who had lost their property to elite leaders in both Rome and Judea. They were Robin Hoods, Bonnies and Clydes. They were social justice revolutionaries. They were the two other guys on either side of Jesus on Golgotha. Samaritan is characterized as almost divine in his awareness of the world. He knows the road and the rest stops. He knows the dangers and is prepared for anything, including self-defense. He develops relationships on a bloody way. The road was his home. He had a schedule. He could be trusted by innkeepers. He had a good relationship with nature, specifically his pack animal. He was in good shape, could walk the distance. He had resources of water, wine, and oil. He knew first aid. Religious taboos did not prevent him from performing holy acts of anointment in a secular wilderness, demonic place. He was temperate. He hadn't drunk all the wine. He was generous and he cared. He was not too busy to suffer a major interruption by taking responsibility for the situation in which he found himself. He had hope. Wow, what a story. This parable is elicited from the mind of Jesus by a debate opponent who desires to justify himself. And it subtly describes self-justifying behavior by zealots, priests, Levites, and maybe even by the helpless victim who could self-justify as a holy martyr. But the godly Samaritan redeems, raises up the whole situation, along with the help of his tag team henchmen, the despised but unbelievably merciful innkeeper. Typically, mercy is not a word, never, in the mind of a retired Roman soldier. Mercy is weakness. God, the emergency medical technician, saves the life of the victim and entrusts the victim's recovery to the innkeeper, the extended care nurse, who will lift a spoon many times to feed, who will empty the bedpan, change the dressings, turn the body so that it will avoid bed sores, who will be startled out of sleep by the moaning of the victim. All of this the innkeeper did, trusting the Samaritan would return and reward. The level of trust is mind-boggling, but that's the way it is with good and merciful people. So how do we self-identify in this story? I can understand the heated blood of a zealot, prone to violent self-justification, righteous indignation, a Robin Hood way of doing business. I can understand the cool rationalizations of the holy ones who are set apart, cannot afford to lose the time and the energy to give simple mercy. Don't bother me, I'm writing a sermon. I know I'm not good enough or strong enough to stand in the hyper-capable shoes of the Samaritan. This leaves me two options. On bad days, I need rescue. I'm in the ditch, too beat up and strung out to justify myself. But even near death, I am sharing ditch time with He who justifies the whole universe from the fatal ditch of His cross, crucified by the self-justification of others. So it's okay, I'm safe. Love and trust God all the way. On good days, I can be God's happy henchman. I can be part of His tag team, the innkeeper, and serve the world of pain that He brings to me for care and mercy. God trusts me. He trusts you. He will provide the resources, and if I go over budget, He'll more than repay when He comes back. Love your neighbors. We know who they are. Amen.